What's up, everybody? Rob here. So, it's no secret that modern art sucks. I don't think this is a surprise to anybody who's been to an art gallery anytime in the past, well, really since modern art took off in the past like 50 years or so. But for some reason, this particular type of artwork persists. Now, I know what you're thinking. Art is subjective, beauty is subjective, and everybody has a different opinion as to what is good art and what is bad art, what is beautiful and what is not. And yes, that is absolutely true. Art truly is subjective, but at the same time, there are certain things that just don't make sense no matter how you look at them. I mean, look at this painting that you see right here. This is currently, I don't think it's on display in the Museum of Modern Art. It was on their website. I don't think it's on display, though, at the moment. But what is going on here? I mean, I just don't get it. Maybe I'm missing something, but yeah, I'm not sure exactly what the deal is. So I've been mulling this over for a while, and unlike most of my videos, this one is more or less unscripted. I mean, I have been thinking about this subject for a while. I mean, what makes good art, what doesn't make good art, and, really just trying to formulate my opinion on this. But this is really just a stream of consciousness. Just as things pop in my head, I'm just going to, put them out there. I have some vague ideas, but it's not really a formal script. So, any case, this is just a general opinion of modern art, why I think it's absolutely terrible, and why I think this particular type of artwork still persists, even though, well, let's just say nobody gets it. Now, before I can talk about what makes art bad, I have to talk about what is good. And again, this is completely subjective, but I think there's some things that pretty much everybody can agree on. So, without any further ado, this is my opinion of art, both classical and modern. And, music, please. Now, when people normally discuss art, they usually talk about the Michelangelos and the Leonardos and, the Rembrandts. And yeah, we're going to get into Rembrandt in a little bit, but I'm going to go a little bit different here. This is a Caravaggio painting. This is Judith beheading Holofernes. It's one of Caravaggio's most famous works, and as you can see here, it is an absolute masterpiece. Now, if I tell you absolutely nothing else about what you see here, you know that you know exactly what's going on here. You have Judith, the woman there, beheading Holofernes. Now, Holofernes, you can tell, is absolutely shocked by what's going on here. I mean, he's obviously asleep, he's in his bed, and he's waking up with a sword buried in his throat and his head halfway removed. The pain on his face, the shock, the horror is absolutely apparent on it. Just look at his facial features. It's almost photorealistic how it's almost scary how Caravaggio manages to capture that emotion, that initial shock of him, this is the moment of him realizing that his life is about to end. And you have Judith, holding the sword. She seems fairly disconcerted about this, almost contemptuous of Holofernes, and that actually goes into the story. If you're familiar with the story, Holofernes was an Assyrian general who was attacking Israel. Judith was an Israelite woman who, decapitated Holofernes and pretty much scattered the Assyrian forces. But you can see there's almost a degree of contempt on her face, that she utterly hates this guy and is not regretting this in the slightest. And to the right of Judith, you see a servant there who's just waiting to put Holofernes' head in a bag. Looking on, almost seems somewhat impatient, like, come on, let's get on with this. I got stuff to do. And there's a lot going on in the scene that it's just obvious just by looking at it. You don't need to look at any particular details. You don't need to look at, that deeply into it. You don't even need any type of special education in artwork or anything like that. Now, I know very little about art. I look at art mostly through the lens of history. What does it say about the history of the time period in which it was painted, that sort of thing. And so, I can't really talk that much, but I mean, you can absolutely see Caravaggio's skill here. I mean, you can see that he put a tremendous amount of work into, and it just has a natural talent for painting. Look at the shadows and how, the creases in Holofernes' head and how the shadows in the fabrics that people are wearing. I mean, just the detail. I mean, Caravaggio must have spent, I don't even know how long. I could look it up, but I'm not going to because I'm not that interested. Plus, I got other art I got to go through too. But just, the amount of work that you can just imagine him sitting there staring at this canvas, for hours on end, trying to get, just the right brushstroke, just the right shade of coloration, making sure that everything is proportionate, everything is lit up just the right way. I mean, look, the main lighting of this scene is right in the middle, so that your eye is immediately focused right on the center two figures. The figure off the side is sort of, it's there, and the servant's there, fairly obvious, but it doesn't really draw that much attention. It's a lot more shaded there. You can just imagine like the detail, the attention to detail that Caravaggio put into this, and the amount of effort that he put into it, to get this sense of just drama of this very, very emotionally driven scene. Right, and here you have the Night Watch by Rembrandt. It's actually not the name of the painting. It's something long, and I'm not going to pronounce it because, I may have Dutch ancestry, but I don't have the Dutch language. So, yeah, that. Any case, again, you can see the attention to detail here. You have, the folds of fabric being seen clearly. You have facial expressions on each of the individuals in this particular militia company. They're very easily seen and very distinct from one another. And there's just an overall sense of energy in the scene. I mean, this is a militia company that's about to set out on patrol, and it's just obvious that these guys are, getting ready to move out and getting ready to, to do their job. And there's just a sense of energy and motion with it. Even though it's completely static painting, you can tell that there's energy here. There's some sort of movement that can be seen. This is happening even if you can't necessarily verbalize it. You can't necessarily put it into words, but the sense is still there. The emotion is still there. I mean, if you look, right by the drummer boy on the right-hand side, underneath you can see there's a dog there. I think that's a dog. Might be a cat. No, that's a dog. And it's trying to scurry out of the way. That just small details like that just add to the overall effect of this scene. Very great painting, one of my favorites. Now, I visit the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City fairly regularly, and this is one of my most favorite paintings there. This is The Wolf and Fox Hunt by Peter Paul Rubens. Probably around 1616 it was painted, and you can just see the energy in this. There's a lot of motion. You see wolves panicking, people are stabbing, horses are trampling on foxes, dogs and wolves are, biting each other. It's just, there's a lot going on here. And there's just a ton of emotion with this scene. It's just active, it's kinetic, and just like the other paintings, it's a still image, of course, but at the same time, you can just see the motion here, that this is, it might as well have been a still from a film reel. You can look at the musculature of the animals. The horse, look at the horse's hind legs. You can see the bunched up muscles there as it's rearing up. You can see the muscles of the dogs and the wolves, tensed and ready to go. Like they're ready, they're in action. If you look at the figures on the left, you see the two spearmen there, and you also have the guy on the horse also carrying a spear. They're charging in there. Almost seem like there's a degree of I guess almost desperation. They want to get into this fight as quickly as possible. You got a guy like right there in the center blowing on a horn as a signal, and a guy directly behind him, with sheer panic on his face, like he doesn't want to be there. And then you got the guy on the gray horse in the green. He has a look on his face of sheer desperation. It looks like to me. He's almost panicking because presumably the dogs that are underneath him, right there, are his dogs, and he is trying to intervene before the wolf kills him. Like he wants to get in there, like he's led his horse directly straight into this, almost like a cavalry charge, using the momentum of his horse to break through, to break into this melee that's going on underneath him. There's a real sense of urgency. And then you got the woman, in the far corner who's looking like, oh, that's nice. She doesn't seem too concerned at all. So you got this chaotic scene going on in front of you, the desperation, the urgency, and then you have the woman there, seemingly unconcerned about what's going on here. Just, she's interested, not unconcerned, but, definitely interested in what's going on, but not overly panicked about it. So you have there's a ton of emotion here that Rubens was able to convey with all of this. This particular portrait, or this particular painting, is one of my favorites. In the Met, it's in. I remember, if I remember distinctly, it's on the second floor. I believe it was the early modern section. I'm not entirely positive what it's called. I haven't been there in a while. And I don't really look at the labels on the areas. I just sort of wander around and go wherever it suits me. But yeah, that area is mostly made up of in that section. There's mostly portraits and a couple of religious paintings, maybe a nature scene here and there. And then right on the far wall, you have this painting there. Now, this is a actually very, very large painting. It's I don't know the exact dimensions, but it's definitely not like a little poster board or something. It's a fairly large thing that immediately captures your attention. But in any case, as a completely untrained person when it comes to artwork, I'm able to interpret all of that from this piece. And I think that's what makes good art. Somebody doesn't need a special education in order to appreciate it, in order to really understand what's going on, and to come up with their own interpretation of what's happening in the scenes. Alright, now someone please tell me what's going on here. Because I really have no idea what this is. This just looks like a bunch of scribbles or smears of chalk, and I think that's like it looks like charcoal or something on a white piece of paper. I don't know what that's supposed to be. And yes, this is an actual piece of art. It's in the Museum of Modern Art in New York City. Again, I don't think it's on display. I think it might be part of a gallery or something like that. It's in storage now or something like that. But yes, this is an actual piece of art. And no, I'm not joking. All right, so here's the name of the painting. It's Smoke Signals from Underground. Yeah, I guess it's sort of smoke-like. If now that you mention it, I guess you can sort of see that. But really, if I didn't tell you that this thing was called Smoke Signals, would you ever get that from this? I wouldn't. I mean, maybe I'm missing something here, but no, it's just random markings on a piece of paper. I mean, I don't see anything particularly smoke-like. I mean, it's vaguely smoke-like, but you have to tell me. And I think that's the issue here. If you have to tell me what your art is or what it's supposed to be, you've already failed. A good piece of art should just stand on its own. I mean, look at the fox hunt, or the fox and wolf hunt. You know exactly that that's a fox and wolf hunt. You might not know Judith and Holofernes, specifically those characters, but you know that a woman is beheading a guy. You know, these things are pretty obvious and straightforward. And this, I don't know what this is. I wouldn't even begin to interpret this as smoke or smoke signals coming from underground or something like that. If you didn't tell me, I would never get it. And I know what some of you might be thinking. Well, that's it, Rob. You just don't get it. Well, that's the thing. There's nothing to get here. There's nothing. It's scribbles on a piece of paper. Well, you've said it yourself. You're just not educated in the art world. Well, there's nothing to be educated about. It's just there's nothing. It's garbage, and you know it. Now, some art critics and some art apologists, interpreters, would say that this is evocative. What emotion is being evoked here? I have no idea what emotion could possibly be evoked from something like this. Oh, it shows men's struggle of pretentious. Okay, that's all it is. It's just a way for people to show that, look, I understand this and you don't. I'm better than you, therefore you're just one of the common rabble that you just don't get it. And that's the point. You shouldn't have to explain art. You shouldn't have to have any sort of specialized skill or knowledge in order to get it. It should be able to stand on its own immediately. Also, what about the skill? I mean, this is something, I have no artistic ability whatsoever. I can probably recreate this in about 5 minutes with the proper materials. And I am telling you, I mess up straight lines with a ruler. This is a can of spray paint with feathers attached to the nozzle. Seriously, this is an actual piece of art. I'm not joking. I can probably recreate this in about 30 seconds with, stuff I have in my basement. What emotions is the artist trying to convey here, other than confusion? Because if that is the case, mission accomplished. I seriously don't get what's going on here. This is apparently what passes for sculpture nowadays. Alright, this is a piece of art that is, let me look it up right here. It's called 1 and 3 Chairs by Joseph Kosuth. Kosuth. I'm going to put it on the screen. And, it's a chair. It's a folding chair. A picture of said folding chair. And the dictionary definition of what a chair is. I'm not joking. This honestly is in the Museum of Modern Art in New York City. I'm dead serious. And just to make matters worse, here's what on the Museum of Modern Art, this is honest to God, I swear it right now, this is their exact description of it. In 1 in 3 chairs, Joseph Kossuth, probably mispronouncing that, sorry, represents one chair 3 ways: as a manufactured chair, as a photograph, and as a copy of a dictionary entry for the word chair. The installation is thus composed of an object, an image, and words. Kossuth didn't make the chair, take the photograph, or write the definition. He selected and assembled them together. But is this art? And which representation of the chair is most accurate? These open-ended questions are exactly what Kossuth wanted us to think about when he said that art is making meaning. By assembling these 3 alternative representations, Kossuth turns a simple wooden chair into an object of debate and even consternation, a platform for exploring new meanings. Okay, what does that mean? I mean, that explanation means absolutely nothing. It's just words that are jumbled together to make it sound like this is something more than a chair that you can get at a furniture store. The picture of the chair and, a dictionary definition. Seriously, and the artist didn't even, I'm very loosely using the term artist, he didn't even make the chair. He didn't even have the decency to go to Home Depot, get some wood and assemble a chair. No, he got a pre-made chair from a factory somewhere. Some guy, in a factory threw this stuff together, probably a bunch of people on an assembly line. He took a picture of it, and then he blew up, probably went to like Kinko's or something. That was from the 60s, so I don't know what they had in the 60s. Some print, wherever they printed something, whatever. But, went somewhere, printed out a dictionary definition of the word chair, and that's art. My God, do you have any idea how stupid that is? He says that art is making meaning. There's no meaning here. It's a chair and a picture of a chair and the definition of chair. There's nothing there. There's no skill involved. There's no emotion being attached to this. There's no energy. It's nothing. It's a chair. I'm literally sitting in one right now. And look, the chair I'm sitting in is even more useful because it can swivel. Okay? I have a swivel chair that has, cushions on it. Therefore, my chair that I'm sitting in right now is better than this piece of junk art. The entire exhibit. There, I said it. There's no skill, there's no meaning, it's nothing. It's junk, it's a piece of furniture. Everybody's got one of these in their house. Probably, like I said, probably even better versions of it. Now, some of you might be saying, well, it's asking the big questions. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's a chair. It's a can of spray paint with feathers attached to it. It's smudges on a canvas. That's all we got here. There's nothing else going on. You can pretend that it is in order to separate yourself from the mindless masses, or what you consider to be the mindless masses. You're not. You're only deluding yourselves. Now, some people will claim that modern art like this conceptual art, is necessary because of photography. Paintings were often used, they had to be used in lieu of photography since it didn't exist. And since now we do have photography and we can get lifelike images pretty much with the push of a button, and that art needed to become abstract in order to compete with, realistic images of photography. And this is a lie. I mean, did we just completely forget about the Impressionists? I mean, this is a Degas painting. It's 3 dancers in an exercise hall. And yeah, there's nothing photorealistic about this. I mean, at the same time, this is an absolute quality work. I mean, you have the motion, you have the emotional content to it. The skill of Degas is very well apparent. I mean, I couldn't recreate something like this in 100 years. It's absolutely an excellent work of art. And you know what? It's not photorealistic at all, and it's not something that would be used in place of photography. And this was from an era when photography did exist. This was late 1800s, early 1900s. I'm not sure exactly when. But yeah, photography certainly existed, and beautiful art was still made. Photography didn't kill art. Pretentiousness did. I mean, in the same era, you have your Van Goghs, your Renoirs, your Monets. All of them are spectacular works of art by absolute masters. They still took a tremendous amount of skill to create, and deeper meanings can still be gleaned from even people without formal education in the subject. Now, to sum up, I guess you can say art is sort of like music. You don't have to actually be an expert to understand it. Someone who has no idea how to play piano can still tell instantaneously whether a piano player is an expert at their field or just some idiot banging on random keys. This doesn't require any sort of formal training. Anybody can do it, and everybody does do it. I mean, it doesn't even have to be, classical music. It could be like, listening to Jimi Hendrix. I have no idea how to play guitar, and I know that Jimi Hendrix is an awesome guitar player. Now, many people out there may not like Jimi Hendrix necessarily. Now, these people are wrong, of course, but you have to admit that the guy is absolutely fantastically skilled. Well, the same thing can be said to artwork. You can have a masterwork like this, which is world famous and world renowned, and hundreds of years later, we're still talking about how utterly incredible this particular work is. Or you can have something like this, presented without further comment. So that's it for the video. It's no doubt my most controversial one so far. So if you liked it, hit the like button and hit the subscribe button as well. More videos will be coming out whenever I get around to it. If you didn't like it, well, hey, that's your opinion. You are entitled to it. Leave a comment below as to what you think about art. Please name your favorite paintings. Really, any of the classical stuff I'm personally good with. Pretty much anything past the Impressionists I'm a little bit, iffy about. But, I am open to suggestion. I think it should be fairly obvious where my tastes lie. Throw in some sculptures there too. I wanted to get into sculpture a little bit, but it's already, 20 minutes into this, and I really didn't want to go in too deeply with that. Yeah. In any case, hit the like and subscribe button, and have a good day. Or don't. You're adults. Have any kind of day you want. See ya. It's a chair. I still can't believe somebody passed this off as art.